Welcome to the Startup of the Year podcast, where each episode we showcase exciting new companies from around the world. This podcast is produced by Established, creators of the Startup of the Year program. Established is focused on helping organizations with their innovation, startup, and communication strategies.
Hello, everybody. It's Frank Gruber. I'm the host of the Startup of the Year podcast. Welcome back. On today's episode, we've got one of our alumni. Our Startup of the Year from 2016, ShearShare, is going to be joining us from just outside of Dallas, Texas. We've got the founders, Courtney and Tye Caldwell. They're going to be joining us and sharing a little bit more about what they've been up to, about the app. It's a special app. It's the first on-demand salon and barbershop space rental app. And so they've been blazing the path in that regard for almost like 5-6 years now, and they're going to share their latest update on how things have been going. They've had a lot of notables, like they obviously won our Startup of the Year, but they've also been noted in a number of different places like Fast Company, Black Enterprise, L'Oreal, the cosmetic company, named ShearShare the winner of their 2017 Women in Digital Next Generation Award. They've gotten investment from a number of people as well. So lots of great things going on with ShearShare. Before we get started, though, I wanted to give you an update about the Startup of the Year program. We're blazing ahead. It's halfway through the year. We're going to be looking to do our summit in the fall, in November, the 9th and 10th, at your home by doing it online. So we're going to be doing this one online. It's not going to be an actual location. You're going to just tune in on the internet and basically interact, just like a lot of the events we've been doing lately. Due to the current pandemic situation, we did not want to put anybody at risk. So November 9th and 10th, mark your calendar. There should be an invite coming out soon. You're going to want to sign up for that and be a part of that summit. And we hope to reach more people, obviously, now that we can do it online as well. So our next event that's going to qualify one of our companies for our finals. So we're going to have 100 startups down there at the summit, all competing for Startup of the Year. One of the companies that is going to be fast-tracked is going to come out of an upcoming event here on July 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be hosting a special Startup of the Year online pitch event that's focused on spotlighting U.S. veteran founders. So it's going to be all kind of as we rev up for our newest part of our competition, which is our .US Veteran Startup of the Year. So we're going to be naming the .US Veteran Startup of the Year this year in November, which will allow us to name that award, but also give $10,000 to the winner. So if you're a U.S. veteran or a spouse or dependent of a U.S. veteran, you should definitely apply for that program and be in the running for that prize, and obviously winning that award as well. So our latest event, though, July 23rd, we'll showcase about a handful of companies. We'll have a number of basically judges and investors on that as well, and fast track one of those companies. So go to startupofyear.com to sign up for that event. It's going to be a good one, July 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. Mark your calendars. We've also been working with a number of other different programs. We partnered with the Greater Colorado Venture Fund for their upcoming pitch competition on July 30th, where they're going to be investing in some of the early stage companies in rural Colorado. So go out there on the internet, look up Greater Colorado Venture Fund. You should be able to find out more about this series that's going to be happening July 30th. It's going to be a good one. It's going to have some real notable people on it, and they're going to be giving away big checks to early stage companies out of rural Colorado. All right. Oh, one more thing. If you haven't already, go to our YouTube channel. We've been putting out some of these live events live, as well as releasing them later as well, so you can follow up and watch some of the educational ones. Like we just put out our South by Southwest pitch, which got canceled, or sorry, South by Southwest panel that got canceled due to COVID-19. We just had our panel join us last week and produced the event, and it was a good one. So it really talks all about the fact that government agencies are now looking to startups for innovation. So we had a great panel discussion with somebody from AFWorks AF Ventures, as well as NASA iTech, and our own team, as well as our latest Startup of the Year winner. So it's a great conversation. You're going to want to check it out. There's a lot of non-dilutive capital out there for startups that are doing interesting things or innovating. And it may not be the innovations that you think the government might be interested in. So I think it's important for any startup to maybe take a look and see if it might apply, because it very well could. And you could have potentially contracts with the government that would allow you to continue to bolster and build your business, and obviously have a great customer there too. So go check that out. It's on our YouTube channel. If you go to the established YouTube channel, you should be able to find it, and definitely subscribe to our channel so you get the updates there. A lot of great content we're putting out. All right, so let's get started now. Let's catch up with our ShearShare co-founders. We've got Courtney and Tye Caldwell who are joining us. They're the 2016 Startup of the Year, and they were obviously invested in by us as being part of that, but also having been invested in by folks like Arlen Hamilton from Backstage Capital, Charles Hudson from Precursory Ventures, Rise of the Rest Fund, which is Steve Case, the AOL Founders Fund as well, as and working with folks like David Hall and Anna Mason in DC on that. So let's catch up with Courtney. Hey, Courtney and Tye, how are you guys doing?
Hey, Frank.
Hello.
Good to hear you. Get to hear from you again. It's been a minute.
It has, yeah. Thanks for joining. Just so listeners are up to speed, can you kind of walk us through the ShearShare kind of experience? What is it all about?
Yeah. So ShearShare is actually the first mobile app that connects salon and barbershop owners who have an empty space to individual licensed cosmetologists and barbers so they can rent by the day. Many people call us Hair B&B, which is exactly what the platform is. But however, we have added additional layers to the ShearShare mobile marketplace so that it really does serve the independent, providing tools that they need to grow and manage their small business on their terms. We just happen to be starting with Space to Work.
All right, great. And where did the idea come from? You two are couplepreneurs. How did this all kind of formulate?
That's funny you ask. This idea came from a problem we was just trying to solve ourselves. Myself, I've been in the industry for over 30 years. I've been a salon and barbershop owner for over 2 decades. So, back in 2012 when we was, rebranding and expanding our salon, we realized, okay, well, we see that there's a shift in the industry, and, we did not know at that same time the shift was licensed beauty professionals, independent, and those ones who are on commission base were realizing that they were a business amongst themselves. They wanted to be transient. They wanted to work when they wanted to, where they wanted to. And a stylist came by my shop and was like, you know what, I'm actually moving to the other side of town. And I'm leaving about 15 to 25 clients, and I would love to continue servicing those clients, but I can't, sign a long-term lease. Is there a way that you could allow me to work a couple of days a week, every other week, so that I can continue to service these clients? And at first, when she told me, nothing like that had ever been brought to my attention at that time from any stylist. No one had ever asked, and I didn't know too much about it. Now I know that people, try to do a little work within their homes, or try to go to clients to their homes or meet people where they need to meet them, but not in the space of business.
When did that start? What year are we talking? Did this start? Take us back. Was that 2015, 2016?
Even earlier, 2012 was when we started, when we got that first phone call from the stylist.
Wow.
We didn't even start thinking about an app till probably end of 2015.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it took some months after that for us to, sit down and figure out how the heck do you even start, a tech company? Because we hadn't heard the word startup before. That was definitely not in our repertoire on a day-to-day basis. I had been working at Oracle. I've been in corporate America actually for 20 years working B2B technology marketing, and saw really a path to retirement at Oracle. I was enjoying myself. I loved having responsibility across 5 continents, was doing demand generation and innovation. And so I really saw a long-term career there. But when my husband said, hey, we need to do this thing, I was like, all right, well, let's jump and do it. Like, why not? And so we came across a friend of ours who was in the startup world. I hesitate to say friend, because at the time we didn't know her that well. She'd just been an acquaintance that I had met on LinkedIn. And she had mentioned the word startup before. And so we had gone back to her and said, hey, remember you said this word startup? Like, what is that? And she was explaining it to us. And we said, oh, well, we've been doing this. We thought about, gosh, there needs to be like an app for this. There seems to be an app for everything else right now. What are your thoughts on that? Now, mind you, she's the kind of gal who can't walk from her car to the grocery store without getting pitched, right? And so it was just a very unique moment where kind of the stars aligned. And so in that conversation, she helped us get introduced to a third-party engineering firm. And that was like, what, 2016?
Yeah.
That was like 2016. And then we went through TechCo Startup of the Year, now Established Startup of the Year.
Yep.
That was our very first stage pitching on, believe it or not.
Wow.
I even go back sometimes. Yeah, very first. I even go back sometimes and watch the pitch, because it's not just humbling. It's just like, wow, like we started there. Had no idea what to include in a pitch. Had no idea what to talk about. Like, what kind of slide deck do you show to investors? Had never spoken with investors before. And so we really appreciate you guys' support early on.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, you gave a heck of a pitch. I think Jeff Clavier had a really great comment. I think you knocked his socks off with that pitch. And he's, from at the time he was at they renamed it. It's called Uncork Capital now, but he's a big investor in the Valley, and he was part of our finals judges and said some really nice things. So now walk us through. So you win that, and then you continue to chug along. We invest in you as part of a round, but then you were kind of continuing to raise. You go over to Google Demo Day, right? Tell us what happened there.
Well, so even before then, because of the win at TechCo, because of the win at Startup of the Year, we were kind of fast tracked to one of our choice of accelerator programs, right? And again, this was a new world for us. During the time when we had been told we were top 5, when we were back in the room kind of rehearsing and drawing up our script, we had called our advisors at YC Fellowships. We'd just gone through that program. At the time, it was an online program. They provided a $20K grant. And we said, hey, we have this opportunity. These are the 5 accelerators that if the winner so chooses, they kind of get fast tracked through the system. Who would you recommend? And they said, well, based on where you guys are, and what we recall, we would really highly recommend 500 Startups. And so as we were, chosen to be number 1, that was why we selected 500 Startups. And that was probably the best decision that we made. So going through 500 Startups batch 19, and then going through Google Demo Day, there was nothing unlike it because we had never raised, money before from angel investors, or friends and family didn't have funds. We didn't even know what a friends and family round was, and then getting introductions into VC firms and talking about how we are truly disrupting the beauty and barbering industry. Those were all firsts for us.
Right. And so you definitely, it was a learning process along the way, and it sounds like 500 and just going through all that helped kind of educate you guys on the process, and then you win Demo Day. You get some investment from Revolution. Is that right? Yep,
exactly. Yep. Steve Case, founder of AOL, he has Rise of the Rest with JD Vance, Team David Paul and whatnot. And so those guys saw something very special in us, and so we decided to take them on as investment partners. They've been nothing but phenomenal. But then what came with that was, Charles Hudson at Precursor Ventures, Jillian Manis at Structure Capital. Arlen Hamilton was actually the first VC check ever that we received, a Backstage Capital, and the list goes on. So yes, we have now raised, over $1 million in VC funds.
Excellent. And obviously you continue to grow the product and the team through there for the last couple of years. And then wham, bam, here you are out raising another round, and we have a global pandemic. So can you share with us how that's impacted your business? And obviously with things being closed because of the pandemic, obviously it's probably taken a little bit of a toll, but how you guys are rebounding and where you're going from there.
Yeah, it's like pick your poison, right? You got 3 pandemics going on, but yeah, I remember very clearly. Second week in March was when the booking started to slow down and people started to ask for rescheduling. We're like, what's going on? Now we had heard a little bit about the coronavirus, COVID-19, that people were getting sick and having to be hospitalized. We were actually supposed to be speaking at what's the Austin event? South by Southwest. Thank you. Right. And so when that was canceled, that really opened our eyes. And so, March revenues, towards the middle of that month went to 0. April, there were no salons and barbershops open across the country. And so we're sitting here thinking, okay, so what's next? But we weren't, discouraged, right? Because we've been here before. Like we've been in the industry for almost 30 years now. We've survived Ebola, we've survived Y2K, we survived the 2007, the 08 recession, right? And so we know beauty and barbering is one of those industries that rebounds tremendously. actually during the last economic depression, we added more jobs in the industry, more than any other sector in the market. And so we're not surprised by the uptick that we assume will happen and is happening as we speak. But yeah, it wasn't a good feeling, knowing that all businesses had to close.
Yeah, it's not like anything I've ever seen. I think that's the thing that's kind of was eerie for all of us, right? When was the last time you saw all businesses shut down? Like that just doesn't happen. So
exactly.
That was very unique to this industry, because going through all the things we went through, this industry has always been able to recover.
Right.
And so we had to kind of now re-educate ourselves and pivot, not just as tech startup founders, but also the industry had to pivot as, businesses, and where do we go from here, being that, we at the time were considered non-essential. So we really had to just really think about what the next phase of jumping back into this thing was like, because as a licensed professionals, about 87 to 97% of our education is due to sanitation, health precautions, and all of those things. So we knew that we could handle just the way we connected with the people and the way they're present. So it wasn't so much that, it was just the politicians didn't understand just the flow, because they just thought, okay, well, we got to do this. But putting in those different guidelines of how to service the clients by one-on-one contact, 6 feet apart, those were things that we could easily implement and just go from there.
Yeah, that makes sense. And how has it been? Like, I know it's been now 3 or 4 months. We're still in it. We're still seeing things flare up in different areas. Even where you guys are down in Texas, it's running pretty crazy right now with the virus. How are you guys weathering the storm right now, and where do you see you guys going from here?
Yeah, well, in Texas, we are definitely a little bit more hard-headed than other areas of the country. That's a given that people are seeing now, now that we're officially a hotspot. But I will say that, in years past, months past, when we were out fundraising, I remember distinctly having conversations with investors who said, hey, what we feel you guys should do is just focus on one area, like tackle New York or tackle Los Angeles or tackle Dallas, Texas, and then, kind of copy and paste that same growth plan across America. And can I tell you, I'm so excited that we did not do that job, that didn't do that, Frank, because what ended up happening is that we saw, first of all, we listened to the market, and the stylists were telling us that they didn't want to just be in one place. They needed lots of options, and there are stylists everywhere. And so I'm very grateful that we listened to the market instead of, the quote unquote startup experts, because when Texas came back on, we started to see bookings happen again. And Texas now is responsible for 33% of our bookings since the COVID, what we're calling the COVID quarter, those crazy 3 months or so. New York is still trying to come back online. California, same. There are still cities in Cali that have not been turned on. And so if we had done that, we would have really been shooting ourselves in the foot, because we would have only had a foothold in one particular geographic area. And so because ShearShare is now across 625 cities, we can get stylists back to work immediately.
Right.
We not only did that, but we came up with a reopen with care strategy and plan that we shared out with all of our ShearShares, also shared that out on social media so that if they weren't a part of the ShearShare community, they could take advantage of that. Things like a client health statement template that they could use. We really dug hard into education. And not just how to cut, how to do the newest haircut or the newest balayage. It was all about, what do people care about right now? Well, they cared about, what the heck is PPP, and how can I get, take advantage of that? What is an EIDL? How do I need to apply for that? Where do I go to apply for that? What if I don't have a bank account? What's going to happen to that stimulus check that the government has been promising me? And so we did a lot of education and actually created over 100 pieces of new content that were just for how to get people to get more money in their bank accounts, just so they could feed their families and not be have a roof over their heads.
That's a fantastic plan and of attack with what's going on. I mean, putting your, because otherwise, what are you could just sit and do nothing, right? Which is just makes you more anxious, right? But you guys went out and did something to help these different salons and obviously help move things forward. So yeah, I think that's the best you can do at this current situation. And then obviously we're in the middle of a pandemic, and then all of a sudden you see the horrific things happening in the country. I think that have been happening for a long time. And, you know, obviously both being Black founders, I wanted to just bring up the fact that, you know, you're both Black founders and have raised funds, have done it at a high level. How has that affected you guys, the current situation with the Black Lives Matter movement and all the protests and everything? Can you share a little bit about the position you guys have been put in and how it's how you guys are reacting from it?
Well, you know, it's such an apropos statement. Thank you for asking that. You know, but you know, we as Black founders, Courtney and I, you know, co-founders being husband and wife team as well, we've always felt like there was a disproportion of fairness and the way that, you know, we've been looked at as founders, not just being a married couple, because we had to deal with that on our own, but then being Black, we went in there with two things working against us. And that's not against everyone, but we know that people do look at color, and we know that people do look at what they feel is the way they see not just Black founders, but Black people. And so we always wanted to go in and show ourselves highly skilled experts in what we do. And we always felt like we had to go in there with the mindset of being, you know, 2 or 3 steps ahead, because we knew that we just couldn't go in the investors with an idea. We actually had to have something. And we also knew that we couldn't just go and ask for money if we didn't have skin in the game. So it was a lot of things that worked against us, but we always tried to edit ourselves as Black people so that people could say, okay, well, we know that they're different, but we're no different. We're just like all the other Black founders. We're working hard at what we're doing. We're trying to provide something not just unique to this industry, but unique to this world, and give people opportunities. And sometimes we see that our color gets in the way. So at this time, with all the things that are going on, the George Floyd, the COVID-19, the Black Lives Matter, all these things have, you know, in a lot of sense, brought a lot of things to light. Yet we want people to understand, especially our white brothers and sisters, the venture capitalists, the angel investors, all those that are really looking at the ideas that Black founders are bringing. These are great ideas. And I think sometimes they don't really care if they're great. They just say, okay, it's a Black founder. You know, I would rather give my money to a kid from Stanford who doesn't know anything about, you know, failing, but just the fact that he's white and he's unique in his own way. He's went to get that education. We're gonna put our money on him. But us being, if it's the pattern match, and and just us as Black founders, because we're doing the hard work. We have the expertise. We have the years behind us that have shown that we can build something great. But we also Black, and our intelligence has nothing to do with our color. If anything, it should show you that, okay, guys, you know, this is a Black founder. They're doing something to make this world better. Let's look into this. But sometimes our color gets in the way of some of the investors. And, you know, we understand that, but still we work hard, and this is nothing new to us. We've been dealing with this for decades, centuries, you know, 400 years. And if you want to count you know, all the time during the Jim Crow era, you're talking about now another 50 years. So 450 years. It's nothing new to us.
And really, unlike, you know, George Floyd and Breonna Taylor, right? When people see us, they see first our skin color. And even our very first investor meeting out in the Valley, the investor, as soon as we sat down, before we could even pop open our laptop with the demo, made a comment about our race. And so, like, that was our introduction to Silicon Valley world of investing.
Wow. I'm sorry that happened. I mean, that you know, obviously, we support you guys, and we want you guys to be successful, and we appreciate what you do, and obviously want to see a change in the world too. So let us know if we can help with anything like that, because that's horrible. That should not be happening.
Right. I agree, it shouldn't be happening, but it's unfortunately the expectation, honestly, when you are Black. You have to be 10 times better. You unfortunately don't get the luxury of failing and saying, oh, you know, I raised 40 million and I had to close the company in two years. And we've heard plenty of stories like that. It's like a badge of honor for our white counterparts, but it is, you know, the humongous failure and a note to investors like, oh, see, that's why I can't invest in Black founders when it happens to us. Right.
That makes, I hear you. So it's, again, pattern matching. They're trying to fit everything in a box. Okay. Well, let's shift gears slightly, though. For any founders out there, Black founders, minority founders of any type, can you share like some things that maybe like that you would help help them maybe consider when starting or running a business? Because you've done it now for a while, and you guys are, you started bootstrapping, and it sounds like in 2012, continued it for a long time now. It's almost been 10 years, and want you guys to share some of those insights.
Well, definitely, I tell people, and I just had this conversation with a potential business owner the other day that was visiting us. It always starts with relationships. You have to kind of know what you're getting ready to get into. You have to be ready for it. A lot of times corporate-minded people don't have the same mindset as entrepreneurship-minded people. And so it's different. But we always believe in relationships. We always believe in people that are there for us, because you need that support. You can have an idea, but if you don't have a foundation of support, you're going to put other people's beliefs of how things could happen or how things could be built are going to be put on you. So, you have to really make sure that you have a strong support system. And we tell them that, but to always stay focused. And something that we learned a long time ago when we were starting our business is that someone told us, whatever you do, do not give up. Always continue to hang in there. And so we've always been pretty scrappy about that. And even when we've gone through tough times, we've never even thought about quitting.
Oh, no.
You know what I'm saying? That's just not something that we even think about doing. And I think sometimes when I've seen other founders go to a certain amount of money and say, we can't do this anymore just because they're scared to get zero. We don't have a problem with that. But what I would tell Black founders is just to stay focused, never give up, and continue to strive, but really, really stay focused on the support system and who can you go to, because there's always people in your back pocket that are there for you and you just haven't thought about it.
Yeah. And I would add too that, our community is very strong. It's always been extremely resilient, right? And so, one of the things, again, that Tye and I did, we doubled down on product development during the COVID quarter, but we also spent a lot of time, again, just asking questions of people like, what do you need today? Like, how are you feeling today? I can't tell you how many crying sessions we had on the phone with folks who were just at a loss. They had never been here before, never experienced this. Some people had just opened their salons like last October. And so they were very scared. And so I'm very happy to say that, our efforts with helping people through the EIDL and the PPP, we actually helped over 100 business owners receive PPP after, get this, Frank, after being denied the very first time. So These are all people who have been denied, had all their paperwork in line, and were told no that first round. And then we helped them and they were able to come back out. So I say all that to say, to our fellow Black founders out there, focus your energies where you're going to get the biggest impact. And for us in this case, we could have easily sat down and cried a river, right? And said, oh no, woe is me. But instead we said, there's way too many people out there who are hurting. And we've been through, hard times before. We know we're going to get through it. It's just a matter of when. And so let's turn our energies and our spirits on people and how can we best help them right now. And that's what we did.
Wow. So that's both great advice and great impact that you guys made in that time. Bravo to you guys. That's awesome. Thank you for doing that work. And first off, the whole loan situation was difficult to begin with, and then to get that and to get the rejection. And then obviously, a lot of people would just give up, but you guys didn't, and you ended up helping other people not give up too. So it really shows how strong you guys are. And okay, let's switch gears slightly. I want to talk a little bit about your current status and like what you've been up to. And I know you guys are out raising funds, and maybe talk a little bit about that and what's next, and maybe some tips and tricks maybe from that as well.
Yeah. So we are currently raising our seed round. We thought that we had the round closed before COVID, and then, the series of, the world coming to an end and the sky is falling, kind of halted that. So there were some monies that weren't wired. So we're still actively taking meetings with investors. It's going okay. It's a little interesting to have a pitch via Zoom, but we're getting used to that. We actually have a local pitch here in Texas that'll be the end of this week, and that'll be our first one in person in a long time. So that'll feel probably really good. But yeah, we're actively raising right now, and the good thing is that we're seeing conversations happen. The bad thing is that we're not seeing, and not just for us, but for other Black founders as well. We're seeing that people are out there saying that they want to support Black founders. Hey, send me your deck. Here's my personal email, which they may not have been forthright in sharing before. but we have not seen the impact of that. We haven't seen the results come from that. So people say, yeah, we support Black Lives Matter. We're opening up, X number of millions in our investment portfolio just for Black founders, but we have yet to hear from some of our friends and colleagues that they actually receive a check.
Interesting. That's really interesting to hear. Because you're definitely seeing it like publicly, like out there in the ether, like, oh, we're doing a lot more investing, or we're looking at a lot more Black founders and whatnot. But to hear the feedback side of it, so I'd love to obviously get the statistics on that for sure, because it's not going to be it's not going to be a hidden thing, right? These are things that need to be out and reported to the SEC. So, yeah, I guess so. So I guess for you guys, like, any tips or tricks for pitching on Zoom? Like how has that been comparatively? I know it's got to be difficult. You guys do a really great pitch in person, so it's hard to do on Zoom, I assume.
Yeah, we have to sit very close together. Thankfully, I kind of like this guy. So we're both mushed into the screen, and we try to make sure we always have a background that has the logo and the company information on it. So like our website and like Instagram, just because people may, forget or, just whatever the case is. And so we just try to make the environment, as pleasant and as brand easy as possible. But nothing really changes. We're just not standing up, when we're pitching. We're still sharing how we are helping to get people back to work immediately. And now that, COVID has hit and we're fighting these other couple of pandemics, economic mobility is huge. And so, we're able to literally get a butt in a seat and have someone work and be able to pay their bills that same day. And so that's huge. And that's across more than 600 cities now, where we're able to, support local economies. And so we don't take that for granted. So that's really the biggest point, I think, that we try to push home when we're on those Zoom calls.
That makes sense. And that's what drives you guys, I assume.
Definitely. Every day.
Every day. So let's kind of go out and play, put that vision cap on. Where do you guys see the company going, short-term, long-term goals, and maybe like 5 years from now? We get past this crazy pandemic and the current situation in the world. Where do you want this to go?
Well, we want to go all the way we want to go all the way to IPO, of course. But we definitely, in the next 5 years, we have a lot of people that are interested in our platform from all forms of this industry. And so we know that what we're building is necessary and needed. And we know that, not just COVID, but even before that, we know the licensed professionals, independents are, the numbers are just ramping up more and more. So there's going to always be commission-based salons. There's going to always be salary employee-based stylists. But we know that the business amongst themselves are licensed professionals. The customer believes in the licensed professional. That is a business amongst itself. And we'll never forget the brick and mortar. That's a business amongst itself. So we know that we are creating something in this pattern match B2B that's so totally different. So in the next 2 to 5 years, that's what we're driving. We're driving that more so. And we want to make sure that there is creating that ecosystem. But not only that, we're looking at ads. We're looking at selling products. We already now provide, insurance, an insurance layer. We also provide a merchant layer. So just giving everybody the ecosystem. Yeah, you have all these platforms. You have the Craigslist. You have the Indeed. You have the Instagrams. But there is no ecosystem like a ShearShare that provides that to a level at scale. And so those are the things that we're doing now to continue to guide these licensed professionals to a platform that works just for them.
Yeah, I think, traditional salons and barbershops were already facing disruption prior to COVID. And so this really just gave us another opportunity to reimagine how stylists manage and grow their small businesses, right? And even with all the surveys that we did, because that was one thing we could do was, write code and talk to users. The way that people are thinking about when they work, where they work, and how they work, like it looks 10 times different than it did just 6 months ago. And so thankfully, we're providing the tools and meeting them where they are, like literally on their mobile devices, so that they really can create that economic mobility, economic advancement for themselves. Because like Tye said, they are businesses unto themselves.
I love that. And I love the platform ability there with creating the tools for everyone that needs them. Everything from some of the things you mentioned, like getting the PPE, P loans, you know, getting those loans and things like that, that's another step in that same direction, right? And now they need to figure out how do I could see you guys integrating with things like an Intuit or QuickBooks or something like that to help people figure out how to get those tax returns done and whatnot. So that's really cool. I love it. One final question, just because I'm in need. When are we going to see a more of an uptick in like being able to go into salons and things like that? I definitely need a haircut so bad. So I'm thinking about doing it myself. It's a little risky.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
If you do, just get around the ears and maybe a little bit off the top, but do not do anything major. Don't butcher yourself.
Right.
But I will say this right here. This is what I'll say. If you're not going to go to your local, the one that you consistently go to, you know, look online, you know, Google businesses and listen to what they're saying. So at my salon, we make people sign health statements and we do it digitally. And so it kind of gives you an idea of what that person's doing. We've also added a whole nother layer of safety and precautions. So not only do we have to do it by the regulations and laws of our state, but we also have to do it now through the barbicide laws. We also now the guidelines. We also have to do it through the CDC guidelines. And they added an extra layer, which was OSHA. So we are really, really ramped up. And our clients are very, very safe. They share with us. That guideline will really stop people in their tracks, because if they've been around someone that was probably, you know, that had COVID or were connected to someone who knew someone, that's going to stop them in their tracks of even coming into the business. So make sure that you're talking to someone who's following guidelines, who makes it very safe, who's sanitizing the chairs, who's changing capes out every time, changing out gloves, wiping the door handles of the entrance, the exit, the bathroom doors. All those things right there are going to make you feel safe. One of the and all of our clients are loving it. And so I get a chance to kind of go up there since we're not traveling as much. And they all share with me that they're so happy and they feel so safe once they leave their homes, away from their family, then come back. Yeah. So those are the things that you can look at, but definitely do your research in your city. I'm sure there are some salons and barbershops that are offering a very, very safe haven for the customer. And I think that they're out there. So don't be too scared, but don't put so much fear in you to a point to where you just can't step out of your home and create this bubble. Get out there. Someone is out there that's able to give you a nice haircut and make you feel in a safe environment, get you back home safe and right.
Thank you. That's great advice. I'm definitely going to have to check into that. I was hoping that someone would come to my driveway and just do it outside, but I haven't found that offering yet. Someday maybe. And obviously Jen's not going to do it for me. That's just scary. So
I will say this let me say this right here. Frank. You know, that's commendable if they were, but at the same time, this industry is a very touch-friendly industry, and we that's all we do. So you want to be careful. Just because they're coming to your house, they could actually been around someone that have coronavirus. So you don't want to bring them to your house just because you feel safe that you're outside. And I know that we're saying it as fun, but at the end of the day, your safety needs to be within the controlled environment. And also you got to go back to your child, you got to go back to your wife. And I'm sure that they're probably seeing people from there and getting close to people, whether maybe or maybe not, but you want to make sure you feel safe.
That's a great point. I didn't even think of that. You're right. Like, why bring it to your doorstep when you could do it somewhere in a more controlled environment? So excellent advice. You guys know your stuff. Thank you so much for joining today. Really appreciate it. Where can they find you if we've got investors listening, want to share, or others that want to connect with you? How can they connect?
Yeah, they can connect actually directly. You can email me at Courtney@ShearShare.com. Our website has plenty of information, especially for stylists who are trying to get back to work now and need space to work, a safe, sanitized space to work. That's just ShearShare.com. And then feel free to follow along with all the education that we're putting out on our IG channel, and that's just @ShearShare.
Thank you, Courtney. Thank you, Tye. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate everything that you shared and everything you're doing to help startup founders, with PPP and also with all of your customers trying to get through this difficult time of COVID and coronavirus in the world. So thank you for doing what you do, and thank you for, inciting some knowledge and also never giving up. All right. So it's the end of our podcast again, but before we depart here, I wanted to share that our application is opened. You could be the next ShearShare. So just go to startupofyear.com and click to apply. It's a simple form, and you can fill it out, and save the results. And what it'll do is it'll allow you to get involved in the program, which could give you not only an opportunity to compete at our summit, which is in November. It'll be an online summit this year, and potentially a chance at being named Startup of the Year, which gets you in front of investors and potentially gets you investment from us and others. But it also allows you a chance to be a part of some of our other programs, like our daily deal flow newsletter, which goes out to investors daily on weekdays, that basically shares if you're raising funds, maybe there's a chance to connect you with an investor or somebody else notable that could be a customer. So that's a really good opportunity there. And then also throughout the year, we're doing these pop-up pitch events like the one that I mentioned that's happening on July 23rd. That one's focused on U.S. veterans, but there's going to be others in the future as well. So you want to get in that pool. You want to get it applied as soon as possible. So go to startupofyear.com and apply now and be a part of this program as we continue to push ahead and march towards our summit in the second part of the year. All right. So with that, thank you all so much for joining. I'm Frank Gruber. I'm your host. Keep safe out there and be well, and thank you for joining.
Thanks for listening to the Startup of the Year podcast. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll be back with another episode soon.